Hey everyone, it's David Hiut here again, and this is the Do One Thing weekly research YouTube. We look into brands, businesses, and individuals who've done incredibly amazing things, and we try and find out what is their secret sauce so we can go and apply that to our brands, our businesses, and our lives. So, we look at, what are those little clues, and success always leaves a little clue, and you just go and this is what this is. It's a research project to help you go and do amazing things. And today I'm going to pick Canva, and because I'm a copywriter and a very poor graphic designer, and so me trying to use Adobe is just a no-no. It's just too complicated for me, and so I stumbled upon Canva. I used the free one, and then I now use the pro one. And so if you're a graphic designer, maybe you'll use Adobe Photoshop, but actually like Canva literally is brilliant for the 90% of the rest of us, and I'm sure all the graphic designers are now moving over to Canva too. So it's super easy, super simple, and super affordable. And you suddenly go, oh well, now it's always easy to look at where the company is now, and you think, oh, that was always destiny, and it kind of wasn't. So these are the founders, Melanie Perkins, Cliff Obrecht, and Cameron Adams. And it's always easy to look at the founders and go, oh, especially if you look at it in terms of a rock band, or the lead singer always gets the most attention, and maybe Melanie gets the most attention because she's the CEO. But Cliff and Cameron, like in a rock band, like who's the most important? Well, everyone is the most important. And I learned that when I saw Colin Greenwood came down and speak at the Do Lectures, and he talked about the process of how Radiohead do the songs, and that each member was so incredibly important. And of course, there's always the lead singer gets the most attention, but Cliff is the COO and Melanie's the CEO, but Cameron was the engineer who knew how to build things. And so they had a vision for what the future could look like, but Cameron could build it. And so, everyone, none of them could do it without each other. So I think that's always an interesting one. And if you look back now, you think, oh, Canva's an incredible success. It was always going to be that successful. And it's a company now valued at 40 billion. It's got 16 million users a month come to its site. It's got 500,000 team companies using it. Got 3,200 people employed all around the world. And you think, wow, okay. But I think what they did really well is they identified a need, and where they started, they'd also identified a need. So they're really good at going, what's the frustration here, and how can we solve it? And so Adobe was really hard to use for people like me with we understand what good design is, but we can't actually get there ourselves. Their big vision was to build something online which was simple and easy, and made us all good designers. So Melanie's CEO, the reason she identified the need was she was a teacher in design universities, and she could see how clumsy and hard to use the tools were at the time, and she knew that there would be an easier way, and she didn't want to particularly wait that long for someone else to go and do it. She wanted to go and do it herself. So the context is, this is in Perth, 2008, teaching design part-time. But the mission and the dream was there. And so I wanted to make design software simple, online, and collaborative. She wanted to democratize design. And so that was the big goal. And bear in mind, both her and Cliff had never done, they have no tech skills. They'd never run a business before, had no marketing skills, didn't know how to go and raise money. And so they want to go and change the design world, and go up against, like the big Adobes of the world, which were, like mega successful. And so that was like the big goal. Let's go and change, let's go and make every human a good designer. And so what they did was they, chunked that down and started with school yearbooks. And why yearbooks? Well, Melanie's mum was a school teacher, and she saw her work super hard, take all that homework and mark it each night. But once a year, they had to go and do a yearbook. And a yearbook would take about 200 hours of work for a school teacher who was already swamped. And so she's identified this need. So she's gone, there must be a better solution out there. So they literally went and started together Fusion Books. And I think Fusion Books is really important in this story because actually what they learned is how to bootstrap, how to go and identify a need, and the importance of engineers and tech. And so those things were, they were much better founders because they'd done Fusionsoft. Their likelihood to succeed was much better because they'd done Fusionsoft. They're really like zealous, like understanding of how good the user experience has to be was really like came to them in Fusionsoft. And so, and this is one of the ethoses of Melanie is like start niche and go wide. So I'm going to play this little trailer and for Fusionsoft because actually it's 1 minute, and if you can like it, because actually what Fusionsoft did was like it was their apprenticeship for Canva. And actually what they did was they were really good at identifying the need. They also could communicate really well. They could say this is the problem and this is the answer.
Yearbooks are a great way to remember all of school's fun times. However, creating a yearbook has not always been easy. Once upon a time, before Fusion Books, back in the dark old ages, one poor yearbook coordinator was with one very big task. Let's call this unfortunate soul Anne. She had to plan every page in the book from scratch and then chase teachers and students around the school to get photos and articles. Wrong format, missing files, no design experience, having to retype, edit and compile while learning all about bleed, crop marks, resolution and file formats. Quick smart. The deadline is looming like a rainstorm on a sports day. It's a tough battle for Anne who starts to pull her hair out. Over 200 stress-filled hours later, a yearbook eventually emerges. Yearbook coordinators don't despair. Fusion Books heard Anne and really care. Fusion Books has created a super easy-to-use online system. Anne can now share the workload with other staff and her student committee. Her helpers can upload photos, write articles, and create their own profile. But as head editor, Anne gets the final say. You can create a stylish professional page in less than a minute. So let's watch her create a page. She chooses a professional layout and then selects a background from our artist designed library, or she can create her own. She adds her photos and then adds her text. Clicks print, and her high quality full color books are delivered to her school. Save time, save money, and create a stylish book with Fusion Books.
Save time, save money, make it super easy, identify a need, and make this, like this as easy as they possibly can. And so it actually did well. Like the schools went, hey, yeah, you're going to save us like hundreds of hours and it's not going to cost that much. Absolutely. And it did really well. And so this is a picture of them with their very first website, and they couldn't have been more proud. So like I love all this journey. Like people like will only see the end chapter of a success book. They don't understand the 11 chapters that come before it. And so and this is Melanie's mum's like sitting room, I think, and literally taken over the entire house. But I love this. Like, look at all the paper, the photocopiers, I mean, I've been in these situations where I've gone, oh, okay, I really identify with this, and it's all part of the journey. It's like, like suddenly taking over a mum's garage, and they're going like, these are the early days. This is the stuff that they'll look back at and just go, oh my god, can you remember this? Fusionsoft was incredibly important to the success of Canva. This is where they learned their stuff, their skills. And so, and this is Cliff trying to sell the books to different schools, and sometimes he would be on the phone and they say, hey, I want to speak to your boss. And then he put the phone down and then he put a deeper voice on and said, yo, this is the boss speaking. And so, but they were there selling, and he was actually doing well. I believe Fusionsoft is still going in some form today. And I think throughout this story of Canva is a very human story. Is they started out as boyfriend and girlfriend, and now married. They came from working class backgrounds. They're all about the people. And this is a note from this is a note Melanie sent to her brother, because her brother had started a company with his partner. And I love this thing of like, relationships are challenging and rewarding, businesses are challenging and rewarding, and there's this little sweet spot of the human being in the middle. And I take from that, it's like yes, go and build a business, go and do all these amazing things, but like, you've also got to protect you as a human being. You've got to look after you as well. So I kind of love that aspect of the story. I love the entire story, to be honest. And so, and this is Melanie, like they'd done an exhibition at some place. I don't think they sold a ton of books, and so they didn't do it again. But this is what I love, though: yearbooks made easy. So I think they always had that ability to go, what's the problem and what's our answer? And they never lacked like ambition. This is from another slide deck, probably much further down the line. So they didn't lack this ambition. It's like, so here's Google Docs, and here's Microsoft Web Apps, and here's Fusion Books. So they were, they were literally, ambitious from day one. And I think the other thing that they've done really well is build their community. And they started making videos going, hey, this is our first office. We're painting the wall. We're looking for engineers. They brought the community along. And so when they went to start, the community were pitching for them and rooting for them. But it wasn't easy. And so like, I think Melanie went off to San Francisco and tried to raise VC money, because they've suddenly found out, oh, VCs, they never knew about this before. And so I think she stayed on her brother's in her brother's like spare room or something. And so San Francisco, and she pitched and she pitched and she pitched, and she had no after no after no, and eventually the visa expired and she had to go back home. Then she went back the next year and pitched and pitched and pitched, and they said no and no and no, and so, and the visa expired. And so, but each time, importantly, the pitch deck got stronger and stronger. And I think, I saw Melanie had posted this up on her Medium post, and this is really a brilliant viral video about leadership lessons from a dancing guy. And really, you can go and search it on YouTube. It's a lesson in, like, for a long time you're going to be on your own. You're going to be dancing on your own. You're going to be pitching, and the only people who are going to believe is you and your partner. But the thing is, and the important thing is, you got to keep going and you got to keep on believing. So I love this. It seems to be a pattern with Mel that she writes to herself, and I think this is after like coming back. I think she said it somewhere that one of the big upsides of coming back from San Francisco is that she was still alive. She spent all this money on like an iPad and some computer and plane flights and so like she was down about 9,000 Australian dollars. So she wrote this to herself: Mel, you're extremely tired. you're in a challenging situation, though you can pull through. Nothing bad is really happening. You're just feeling depressed because you are used to achieving things quickly. It's a hard environment. There's no doubt you will succeed, and you will find the team you need, get the investment you need, build the company you've always wanted. You have chosen to put yourself in a challenging situation. If it wasn't challenging, you wouldn't feel as satisfied when you actually get to the end goal. So that was a note, from Mel to Mel in 2011. So it's always really good to understand for founders going, look, we can't just see everyone's glory moments. We have to understand there's a journey towards them. And actually, if you keep and if you persist, in the end, you'll find a way. So 3 years of no. I mean, like, would you keep going? Because there's an awful lot of your family and your friends going, hey, why are you doing this? Why don't you just settle for less? And why do you want to go and change and take on the big design companies of the world? Why don't you just carry on with Fusionsoft? It was really doing well. And so she had like 100 no's, and so she's pitching to all the bigwigs in Palo Alto, and she was being told, like, you're too early, it's too big an idea, you're too Australian. I mean, that was the thing. They were San Fran money wanted San Fran people to be there. The fact that there's not many Australian unicorns. And so actually, Palo Alto invest in track records. But the pitch deck got stronger and stronger and stronger with each and every rejection. And if you think about this from a messaging point of view, is Canva the next generation of publishing? You go, okay, I'm really clear what that's about. This is going to be super easy, online, and collaborative. Now, I think at some point they went to a Western Australia Innovations Award, and I think they came second. But what they did at that event is they met this key figure that would change their trajectory. And this was a real character. His name is Bill Tai. He's into kite surfing. But he's an incredible investor. He's super, super smart. And he changed everything. And what he said to Mel and Cliff at the time was, hey, come to San Francisco and I will have a coffee and I'll listen to your pitch. And she went, okay. And I think she emailed him twice, but she asked him to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And of course, no one in San Francisco actually, in terms of Palo Alto, will do that. Because otherwise they wouldn't be able to see any other ideas. And so she emailed him again and said, like, I'm coming over, but she kind of like said that she was coming over to see other people, but really she was coming over to see Bill. And so they had a meeting, and she pitched to him, and on the whole time he was on his phone, and she just thought, wow, that didn't go too well. He wasn't that interested at all. But actually what Bill was doing was he was emailing people for Mel to go and see. So he was interested, and he loved the fact that she'd come over all the way from Australia, and he thought actually there was a really smart idea there. But what she did do is introduce her to this young man. I'm sure you won't mind me calling him that. Lars Rasmussen. I'm sure I've literally said that wrong. But he's a Danish computer scientist. Also, he does a lot of stuff with his brother. He's the co-founder of Google Maps. That's important because he's an engineer. He also did Google Wave, Where To technologies with his brother. So he understands engineering. He understands what it takes to build something. And what he said, he spent an hour with her, and he wasn't on his phone. He was super gone, I think this is really cool. I'm really interested in this. We're doing something similar with Google Wave. And what he said was he would help her find a really great engineer, because raising money was only one part of the problem. Is the other part of it is building an engineering team, and and in essence, sometimes building the engineering team is harder than raising money. And so he said he would oversee and help her, go and pick a great engineer. And in essence, what he did was he kept saying no to pretty much everybody she brought to him. And I think this is a real turning point, because like basically what Lars was doing on, like, if you want to go and be, the Canva that we know today, is you need to go and find somebody who can build it. Like, having the dream is one thing, but you have to be able to go and deliver on it. And so eventually he said no to so many engineers. He said no, 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 no. Then he introduced everybody to CAM. And so this was a big turning point. But there was a slight problem, and that was, like, he was very fond of, they met up, he was very fond of, Canva, and he could see his potential, but his problem was he was actually had his own startup. And like, so, what they saw was the 44th pitch deck. There was going to be another 60, 64 or 54. But he could see something in it. But she didn't let go, and she kept emailing him and trying to persuade him. But obviously, he had a startup, he had team members, and he and it, like, her pitch to him was, well, aren't we stronger together? And eventually, I'm not sure of the time distance between those two emails, but the answer was yes. And they couldn't believe their luck, because they knew this was an incredible turning point. So meeting Bill, meeting Lars, like, and then suddenly, getting Cam to go, yes, this was a big moment. This is where actually the dream and the product could be the same thing. And so this was a huge turning point. All of them were turning points. Meeting Bill, meeting Lars, but like suddenly getting Cameron on board meant that they could go and deliver on the dream. And this sort of scrappiness in terms of going after people, they'd gone after an engineer, a very talented engineer, called Dave, and he was working at Google, and Google didn't want him to leave, and so they made him this like slide deck, and like that persuaded him, because he was on the cusp. Oh, maybe I should stay at Google, or maybe I could go to Canva. But they went and did this human thing of going, hey, we really want you to come. And I thought that was a lovely thing, and that seems to be a common thread throughout this company. And I'm a customer anyway, I'm a paying customer, but I'm really taken with it. So like 100 presentations, 100 no's, then suddenly 101. And meeting Bill, suddenly going, well, if you find the engineers, I'm in. And so initially he said, well, I'll put $25,000 in, and Mel somehow got him up to 100,000. She thought he was going to put all of the money in. But getting Bill on board meant that, gave confidence to all the others. So suddenly they raised $3 million. And so in essence, they were at the start now. They'd built a very small engineering team. They got Cameron on board, really important. And they suddenly go, they were away. And around 2014, one of their users was Guy Kawasaki. And I think Mel had reached out to him because she saw that he was using the product, and he became like their chief evangelist. And Guy is brilliant at spotting the next Apple. He was chief evangelist at Apple, and he could see the potential of this product. He was already using it. And I think the thing that he steered it in, getting the founders to think about, is don't chase a buck, but like chase making change. And so you go and make history, because the money will come, and switch from making money to you making history. And And I think that's probably where he's steered them towards. And I think that's why, this has been another turning point. So yeah, Guy, suddenly reached out to him, or Mel reached out to him, and suddenly he's like chief evangelist. But he's a talent spotter. He's a unicorn spotter. So then in 2013, they finally launched. Like after doing Fusionsoft, after 3 years of like raising money and not having any success, they finally, launch. And and for me, it's an incredible tool because it's so simple. It's somebody who doesn't have any graphic design capabilities. Suddenly, Canva makes me look good. And so you go, wow, okay. But the interesting thing is, before they started, remember all those videos they were making, they were getting their community involved. That was really important. The community making, those film making moments were community making. So they had 50,000 people signed up on a waiting list, who desperately wanted the product. But before they even went and launched, they did a really interesting thing, and they did this user testing site, and they suddenly went, oh, okay, maybe the product isn't as easy to use as we thought, and they went and went back and looked at the product again, because the user experience was so important to them and still is today. And suddenly, because they'd learned that at Fusionsoft, they had to make it easy and simple. And that's incredible value. So, and so, like that culture of iteration, testing, is running really deep in this company. So the business model is, like a freemium one. And so most people don't actually pay for the product. And yet, free has to be brilliant, because, free, is word of mouth. Free is like people just go, oh my God, this is so incredible. And when they have the money one day, they'll uptick to the pro version. So they have a disproportionate amount of value given to them. And if you're like a small company, suddenly Canva is like, wow, because suddenly those small companies become big companies. And then what do they know? They know Canva. So this really is, the freemium model is that thing of the free thing has to be brilliant, because it needs to be brilliant because of word of mouth. And those people who need free now will be able to afford the premium version in 12 months or 24 months. So that's really important. So and so think about it in terms of business models. It's like free to most people, pro, and again, pro is not a huge amount of money, and then you got the Teams version. So 80% of the business would probably be free, and 20% will be made up of pro and Teams. But I could be wrong on that, but I probably 80-20 rule usually applies. And I think because they were they'd identified a need, they've identified people like me who wanted to go and look good but didn't have graphic design skill sets to use Adobe. And look at these curves. I mean, 8 months in, wow, 350,000 designs. Like 20 months in, 3 million designs. And then maybe 2 years later or so, 34 million. So that's designs are created per month, over 13 per second. So the market had told them, you're going, hey, we love this thing. And was it perfect in the beginning? No, but each time they were getting better and better and better. So it had an incredible amount of value to those who were getting a free model, and the pro version had to be next step up as well. So of course, when you're launching anything, you need to be the right time and right product. And actually think about this, like they launched in 2013. What launched in 2010 in October was Instagram. And so that suddenly there was millions and millions of people who wanted to go and look good, to the world. And they weren't all graphic designers. So they were in the right time with the right product. at the right price. And so, if you think about this now, they've launched, like nearly $600 million. They're valued at, nearly $40 billion. And so that's incredible, and an incredible Australian unicorn. But they started like with 100 no's, and then they started with the one yes, where they got to, a 3 million raise. And now they attract, every blue chip investor you can imagine, from Sequoia to all sorts of amazing people. And so you go, wow, okay, that's pretty amazing. But what I want you to take away from this was, the early years. They suddenly go, well, we can't answer that big problem right now. We're going to start with yearbooks for schools. And look back to that video, and you go, Melanie probably did the voiceover on that. And you go, like they bootstrapped it all. So this is an incredible story of like, if you have this dream and you're willing to persist, you need a little bit of luck as well. So, I mean, of course, in terms of graphic design tools, it's no surprise they got 1.2 million followers on Instagram. They've got 178,000 on YouTube. Can't really find out Facebook. 240,000, 242,000 on Twitter, and 119,000 on TikTok. And I'm sure TikTok's going to become probably the biggest thing. So, but word of mouth, from people sharing stuff, you go, how did you do that? Word of mouth grew this company. And because word of mouth said, hey, there's incredible value here. It's incredibly simple. It's incredibly easy to use. And you got people like me actually making a video on it because it's so ridiculously good. But to be that good wasn't that easy either. So what next for Canva? I think there's humans running this. And they voted #1 place to work in Australia. They want to provide an amazing place. I mean, what it's like when you hire somebody and they're like slightly toxic. You've got to get them out of your company, and so and I'm sure they've gone through all sorts of things like that. But they kind of want to work with great people. But there's also this mission in the company as well. They're doing this thing with their prints. One print, one tree. They've kind of planted in 2021 1 million trees, and at the end of 2022, a further 2 to 3 million. And so you go, that's pretty amazing. So they want to go and use this company to go and do good. They want to be climate positive by 2023, and one of their values is like, be a good human. So I think the three of them are incredible. I think they all need each other. They're all lucky because they're all incredible. And they've done an amazing job. And it's a great story. But I love this thing this is Mel's brother, like, giving her anti-slogan advice. Nap time, and like, basically, when you're running a company, it can also run you. And so so they've always had this like banter between them. And he was producing all these slogans, life is fun, because like, when you're building something and and it's incredibly successful, it takes an awful lot out of you. So this is coming back to the deeper values of the company, is do the most good we can. But you can only do that, and this is where the business angle comes in, is by building the most valuable company in the world. So so you need the money to afford the values, and I get that completely. And to finish up, this is another note from Mel to Mel, and you are built by the challenges you face. Your wildest dreams are made of the things that you don't have. Your sense of adventure is spawned by that which scares you. Your strength of character is built each time you fall. Your wisdom comes from making mistakes. Your future is built by your past. Your sense of justice is strengthened by things that are unjust. Rainbows are created by rain. And like, they come through an awful lot of no's to get to this point. And like, this has got to be a message for every founder who's having a hard time right now. Going, keep going, identify the need, and make that need, like, you make sure that need is like something that lots of people have. And I love this. It's always seems impossible until it's done. And so I'm pretty sure it would have felt impossible to go and take on Adobe's and the big companies of the world, from a little, little, Australian city, with no experience of doing it ever before, no business experience, no marketing experience, no tech experience. Like, you wouldn't bet on them, doing what they've done. So they are underdogs, and they've become this incredible success. But I thought I'd finish it up on this, like, set of conclusions from Mel, and I thought, solve a real problem. Like, if you're going to go and start something now, make sure you're solving a real problem. I think it's the most critical ingredient has been providing a product that solves a real problem that lots of people care about. Lots of people care about. Offer a free tier that delivers a lot of value. If you can offer a free tier that provides a lot of value, it will naturally help your product spread much more rapidly. So the freemium model was really key to them. Start niche and go wide. By starting niche with Fusion, literally, like, it gave them the apprenticeship to go and succeed, I'm pretty sure. And then going wide with Canva, we are able to really go get a deep understanding of our customer's problem and solve it well. So start really small. It's fine. Our whole company focuses on growth, but not in the short-term optimization sense. Everyone is either working on long-term growth initiatives or shorter-term optimizations. For example, internationalizing our product or launching Canva on a new platform like our iPad, iPhone, and Android apps will all unlock new markets. So we consider them long-term growth initiatives. So have that short-term and long-term, vision. We structure our whole company around goals. The old school hierarchies of years gone by with rigid structures and hierarchies were certainly not made for rapidly growing startups. We structure each team around crazy big goals with lots of emphasis on titles. Every team has a goal and then celebrates when they hit that goal. So this is all gold. I mean, I kind of love all this wisdom, and I'm just going, like, they've seen, they're like super humble, they're hardworking, working class people. They're trying to do the best they can, and they're doing a pretty good job. Ensure great onboarding, and that's, you go back to their user tests thing. They were about to launch. They had 50,000 people screaming for the product, but what do? They went and did a user test series, and then went and made the product even better. SEO, when people are looking for your product, it would be crazy not to let them find it. Yeah. Learn to love every type of data. We got off to a rocky start with A/B testing when investors were asking if we'd A/B test in our vision. It's important to use the right data for the right occasion. Yeah, you don't need to A/B test your vision, headlines and colorways. Yes. Provide real value. The power of this cannot be underestimated in both your product and marketing. Aim to make your product affordable. Yes, which they have done. They did it freemium, pro, and teams. So lots there, really good one. Loved. I was a customer. I didn't know this entire backstory, and I'm pretty mighty glad I did. So it turns out, as always, the secret sauce to doing one thing well is not one thing. It's all sorts of things. All three of them are incredibly important to each other. They all have different skills. It was really important for them to start small. It was really important for them to bootstrap. It was really important for them to, turn down all those engineers that Lars go, not good enough, not good enough. You go, no, I need the engineer. No, they need the best engineer if you want to go and do something. If they said yes to the average engineer, Canva wouldn't be Canva today. And, meeting Bill, but they only met Bill because they went to an innovations thing that you think, oh, this thing in Western Australia doesn't really matter, except eventually they met Bill, and because they met Bill, they met Lars, and suddenly everything, and because they met Lars, they met Cameron. Like, the secret sauce to doing one thing well is to do everything well. And it's a really good episode, this one. Love it. Well done to all you at Canva. Salute you, praise be. And this is what we try to do at Hiut Denim. We make one of the best jeans in the world, and we do that one thing well. And so So this is good learning for us, you know, as a team, and just go, right, okay, what can we learn from this? And well, there's a ton to learn from this. Okay, see you in the next episode now, and you take care. Take care. And go and subscribe to our newsletter, because that's where you'll find out all the latest news. Don't forget to do that.